Welcome to Learn English with Hamzy, the place where you don't just learn English. You live it, you feel it, and most importantly, you speak it no matter where you are, who you are, or what level you're starting from. If this is your first time here, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Thousands of learners across the world are just like you, trying to speak English, but afraid, unsure, or maybe completely alone. And that's exactly what today's video is about. In this video, I'll show you how to practice speaking English by yourself even if you don't have a partner, teacher, or class. Because I did it. And so can you. Now, let's begin the journey. How to practice speaking English by yourself, the complete guide to fluency without a partner. Have you ever stood in front of someone, heart pounding, throat dry, lips trembling, wanting to say something in English, but no words came out? I remember the first time I tried to speak English in public. My mouth opened, but what came out didn't feel like English. It was broken, clumsy, awkward. People stared. I laughed nervously. They smiled politely, but I could see it in their eyes. They didn't understand me. And worse, I didn't understand myself. This wasn't just about grammar, or vocabulary, or pronunciation. This was about confidence, identity, shame. I was afraid to speak. You see, for the longest time, I avoided speaking English. Not because I didn't love the language. I did. I loved English movies, songs, TED Talks. I admired people who spoke English so confidently, so fluently, like it was a part of their soul. But me, I was scared. Scared of making mistakes. Scared of people laughing. Scared of sounding stupid. So I stayed quiet. I became an observer, a listener, a silent learner. For years, I thought English fluency was for special people, those who traveled, who went to international schools, who had English-speaking families. I didn't have any of that. No native friends. No expensive tutors. No fancy accents in my home. But I had one thing. The desire to speak. And if that's all you have right now, that's enough. Because everything I'm about to share in this video is built on that one small thing, your will to speak, even when no one is around. No one to talk to. Let me be honest with you. When I finally decided to start practicing English speaking, I didn't have a single person to practice with. No speaking partner. No English club. No friend who cared about grammar or idioms. Just me. Alone. In my room. With a phone. And a notebook. But what happened next changed everything. I started learning how to practice by myself. Not the boring way, but the powerful way. I discovered shadowing. I found graded readers. I created a routine that didn't just teach me English, it transformed how I felt about myself. So if you're watching this and thinking, but I have no one to talk to, I'm just a beginner. I can understand English but can't speak it. This is for you. This video isn't a lecture. It's not some boring classroom lesson. This is a journey. My journey. Your journey. Our journey. And by the end of it, I want you to not just speak English. I want you to love it. To feel proud of your voice. To look in the mirror and say, yes, I'm becoming fluent. The night I almost gave up. Let me take you back to a night I'll never forget. It was past midnight. The house was quiet. My phone was nearly dead. I was staring at an English video, a TED Talk about confidence. I had replayed one line 10 times. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build. I whispered the words. Then I repeated them. Louder. I stood up, looked at my reflection, and said it again. And again. I didn't sound like a native speaker. I didn't even sound fluent. But I sounded braver. That was the beginning. That night I discovered shadowing. And from that moment on, I wasn't just learning English. I was speaking it. Practicing. Repeating. Listening. Shadowing. And every single day my confidence grew, word by word, line by line, breath by breath. The truth nobody tells you about fluency. You don't need to go to London or New York to become fluent. You don't need an expensive course or a partner who corrects every mistake. What you need is a mirror, a voice, and a plan. You need to find a way to speak every day with or without anyone around. And that's what I'm going to teach you. I'll show you how I built a complete speaking routine that changed my life. The exact steps I used to practice without a teacher. How I used my favorite movies to speak fluently. The secret power of graded readers and why they're better than textbooks. How to shadow like a pro even if you're shy. And how to become your own best English teacher. No gimmicks. No fake promises. Just the truth. And the tools that work. So if you're ready, take a deep breath. Because from this moment on, your English journey is no longer silent. Let's speak. The turning point, shadowing, saved me. There's a moment in every learner's journey when something just clicks. For me, that moment had a name, shadowing. I didn't know it was called that at first. I just knew I was tired of being silent. Tired of reading words I never dared to say aloud. Tired of feeling like English was a language I studied, not one I lived. I was just watching a video. Then it hit me. It was a cold, quiet night. My phone was warm in my hands. I had headphones in. I had just finished watching a motivational video on YouTube. The speaker's voice was powerful, smooth, confident. Then, as I replayed a line, I did something strange. I whispered it back. Word for word. Exactly like him. The tone. The rhythm. The energy. Then I did it again. And again. Louder this time. At first, I cringed. It felt weird. Unnatural. But the more I repeated it, the more it felt like I was becoming that speaker. That was shadowing. What is shadowing? Shadowing is a powerful technique used by interpreters, actors, and language learners. It's simple. You listen to a sentence in English, and you repeat it immediately like an echo. Not after thinking. Not after translating. Instantly. You don't just repeat the words. You mimic the speaker. You copy the tone, the pace, the emotion, the pause, the rise, the fall, everything. And over time, it changes how you speak, how you listen, how you think in English, how I practiced shadowing alone. Let me walk you through exactly what I did. Step 1. I chose something I loved. This is important. Don't shadow boring content. Pick something you genuinely enjoy. For me, it was motivational speeches. I loved hearing powerful voices talk about growth, mindset, courage. Here are a few I used. Why Do We Fall? Motivational speech by Mateusz M. Unbroken, powerful Eric Thomas speech. TED Talks by Simon Sinek and Brené Brown. You can also use movie scenes, interview clips, podcast moments, YouTube monologues. If you love business, shadow Elon Musk. If you love sports, shadow Cristiano Ronaldo interviews. If you love movies, shadow scenes from Marvel or Harry Potter. Choose what speaks to your heart. Step 2. One sentence at a time. In the beginning, I couldn't shadow full paragraphs. It was too fast. So I started slow. I picked one sentence, just one. I played it. Paused. Repeated. Then I played it again. Repeated again. It might take me 10 minutes to master one short clip. But I didn't care. Because every time I mimicked a native speaker, I felt like I was borrowing their power. Their confidence became mine, even for a few seconds. Step 3. Record and listen. This part was uncomfortable but necessary. I started recording myself. I'd play the sentence, then record my own version of it. Then listen back. Did I sound flat? Was my rhythm off? Did I miss a word? Felt weird hearing my own voice in English. But the more I did it, the less afraid I became. Because guess what? The fear of speaking disappears the moment you start speaking. Even if it's not perfect. Even if it's just to yourself. Step 4. Repeat daily, even for 10 minutes. I didn't shadow for hours. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day. But I was consistent. And in a month, my fluency changed. I wasn't thinking before speaking anymore. Words started to flow. My tongue didn't freeze. I wasn't scared of long sentences. I was used to them. Shadowing trained my brain to think in English. Automatically. The first time someone noticed, after about 2 months of shadowing daily, something happened. I was on a voice call with a client for a freelance job. She stopped midway and said, "You speak really clearly. Did you live abroad?" I smiled. No, I hadn't. I had just been shadowing speeches in my room, every night like my life depended on it. That compliment, I'll never forget it. It made me believe I wasn't faking it anymore. I was becoming fluent not because someone taught me, but because I taught myself to listen, repeat, and believe. Why shadowing works, the brain science. Let me give you a quick insight into why shadowing is so powerful. Muscle memory, your mouth learns how to move like a native speaker. Fluency boost, you stop translating in your head. Confidence growth, you hear yourself speak real, natural English. Listening improvement, your ears tune into rhythm, stress, and intonation. It's like going to the gym, but for your English voice. Every sentence you repeat builds strength. And over time, you don't just understand English, you express it. Naturally, effortlessly, boldly. You don't need to understand every word. Here's a secret, when you start shadowing, you won't understand everything. That's okay. Understanding is not the goal at first. Repetition is. You're training your tongue, your brain, and your rhythm. You're copying sound, structure, music. The meaning will follow, trust me. Just keep going. My favorite shadowing tools. Here are some tools I personally used and still use. 1. YouTube. Turn on subtitles. Play. Pause. Repeat. Use the loop extension to repeat one sentence. 2. Podcasts. Try The English We Speak BBC All Ears English. 3. TED app. You can read and listen at the same time. 4. Audiobooks. Find books with both audio and text versions. Shadow chapter by chapter. 5. Voice recorder app. Record yourself shadowing. Listen back and self-correct. These tools are all free. You just need time and a will to grow. Don't just repeat, perform. Here's a tip that changed everything for me. Shadow like an actor. Don't just say the words. Feel them. If the speaker is angry, be angry. If they're calm, speak softly. If they're excited, let it show. This emotional mimicry trains you to speak English with life. Not robotic. Not flat. Real. Shadowing is not just copying English. It's living it. I still shadow today. Even now, after years of learning, I still shadow. Why? Because English is a muscle. If you don't use it, it weakens. Shadowing keeps my fluency sharp. It reminds me why I started. And it helps me fall in love with English again every single day. You can start tonight. Here's my challenge to you. Tonight, choose one video, one sentence, put on your headphones, and shadow it just once. Then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. No one's watching. No one's judging. But you'll know. You'll feel it, the shift, the spark, the change. That's your power. And it starts the moment you speak aloud without fear. In the next chapter, I'll reveal how I combined shadowing with graded readers to build a powerful solo learning routine that transformed my fluency step by step. If shadowing is the voice, graded readers are the foundation. Let's talk about them next. Excellent. Let's continue with the graded reader method, building fluency one story at a time. If shadowing is your voice trainer, then graded readers are your personal library of English fluency. Now listen carefully. Because this technique is one of the most underrated, powerful, and accessible tools any English learner can use, especially if you're learning alone. Books were my secret weapon. After I began shadowing, something strange happened. I wanted to speak English. But I didn't have enough vocabulary to express myself. I could repeat other people's words. But when it came to my own sentences, my mind would go blank. That's when I stumbled across something called a graded reader. And honestly, it changed everything. What is a graded reader? Graded readers are books written in simple English, carefully designed for learners at different levels. They aren't like normal novels. They are short, easy to read, full of common vocabulary and grammar. Often based on classic stories, films, or original adventures. Structured by level A1 to C2. Some even come with audio versions, exercises, word lists. Perfect for solo learners like you and me. Why graded readers work better than grammar books? Let me be honest. I've owned dozens of grammar books, but none of them helped me speak. Graded readers, on the other hand, taught me real sentence patterns, natural dialogue, useful expressions, vocabulary and context. You don't memorize rules. You see English in action again and again. And slowly, your brain absorbs the language without stress. How I used graded readers in my daily practice. Here's exactly what I did with graded readers to boost my speaking ability. Step 1. I chose the right level. Most learners make this mistake. They choose a book that's too hard. That kills motivation. So I picked a level below my actual ability. I didn't want to feel smart. I wanted to feel fluent. Here's a basic guide. Beginner, A1, A2. Start with Oxford Bookworms Stage 1 to 2 or Penguin Readers Level 1 to 2. Intermediate, B1, B2 Penguin Level 3 to 5, Cambridge English Readers Intermediate. Advanced, C1, C2 Level 6 Plus, or original novels with audio. I started at Level 2, and even though it was easy, I felt confident reading aloud. That confidence was key. Step 2. I read aloud every day. I didn't just read silently. I read out loud every paragraph, every line. Why? Because reading aloud is speaking practice. It trains your pronunciation, intonation, pace, confidence. I wasn't just reading stories. I was performing them. Sometimes I even stood in front of a mirror like I was giving a speech. It felt silly at first, but over time it became natural. Step 3. I collected vocabulary that spoke to me. I didn't stop to write down every word I didn't know. That would ruin the flow. Instead, I highlighted words that, repeated many times, appeared in dialogue, sounded emotional or powerful. I only wrote down useful words. Then I made flashcards. I practiced using those words in my own speaking, even if I had to talk to myself. Example, I learned the word relieved from a story where a character escaped danger. I started saying things like, I felt relieved after finishing my homework. Simple, real, powerful. Headphone. Step 4. I used the audio to shadow. Many graded readers come with an audiobook or audio recording. So I played the audio, read along with it, paused after each sentence, shadowed it with my own voice. This way, I combined reading, listening, and speaking into one activity. Sometimes I repeated one page 3 to 5 times, until my voice felt natural. That's how I trained my mouth to think in English. The book that made me fall in love with English. I still remember the first graded reader that moved me emotionally. It was a simplified version of The Picture of Dorian Gray. Even though the English was simple, the story was deep. There was something about speaking Oscar Wilde's words aloud. It gave me confidence, elegance, and rhythm. I wasn't just reading a book. I was borrowing the style of a great writer and making it my own. Recommended graded reader series for solo learners. Here are the best resources you can use. Oxford Bookworm's Library. Clear levels from stage 1 to 6. Lots of classic stories. Audio available. Great for pronunciation. Books Penguin Readers. Includes modern topics and classic fiction. Levels from beginner to advanced. PDF plus MP3 versions easy to find online. Cambridge English Readers. Original stories written for learners. More natural speech and variety. Macmillan Readers. Beautiful formatting. Often includes exercises at the end. You can find many of these as PDFs and MP3s with a simple online search. Some libraries even offer them for free. Here's what my routine looked like. Let me show you what one of my 30-minute sessions with a graded reader looked like. Timings. 0 to 5 minutes. Warm up my voice, deep breathing, repeat a few easy English phrases. 5 to 15 minutes. Read one chapter aloud from the graded reader. Pause every few lines to reflect on pronunciation. 15 to 25 minutes. Listen to the audio. Shadow 3 to 5 sentences. Record myself and listen back. 25 to 30 minutes. Speak freely for 5 minutes about what I read. Try using new words from the chapter. That's it. Short, focused, transformative. Graded readers boost speaking confidence. Here's why this works. You speak more without overthinking. You build natural sentence patterns. You feel emotionally connected to the stories. You begin to trust your English. You stop asking, is this grammar correct? And you start saying, I know this sounds right, I've seen it, I've said it, I've read it aloud. That's what fluency feels like. Bonus, rewrite the stories in your own words. One day after finishing a story, I tried something new. I closed the book and said to myself, now tell the story in your own English. At first, I struggled, but I pushed through. And suddenly, I was speaking English using my voice with my vocabulary. I wasn't just copying anymore. I was creating. That's how I knew. Graded readers had become my launchpad. They gave me the language I needed to fly. My message to you. If you feel lost in grammar, if you don't know how to practice speaking, if you feel like your vocabulary is too small, start with graded readers. Start small, start simple, but start speaking. Even if it's just reading a sentence aloud. Even if no one hears you. Because every word you say out loud is a step closer to fluency. And your journey, your real journey, starts the moment you open that first page and say the first word. Now, I'll reveal the complete routine I use to combine all of this: shadowing, graded readers, vocabulary, and confidence building. I'll show you exactly what I did each day, step by step. To become fluent without ever stepping into a classroom or language school. Get ready, because this is the part where your practice becomes powerful. Let's go. My solo routine that worked: fluency from my bedroom. Let me tell you something real. You don't need a classroom. You don't need a native speaker. You don't even need to travel. You just need a routine, a consistent system that turns your alone time into the most powerful English-speaking practice you've ever experienced. In this chapter, I'll walk you step by step through the exact solo routine I used from morning to night to go from an insecure learner to someone who could speak, read, and think in English comfortably. Everything I did happened in my small bedroom. No partner. No fancy tech. Just discipline, structure, and passion. Why a routine changed everything. Here's the truth. Talent doesn't create fluency. Consistency does. I used to wait for motivation. I thought one day I'll feel ready to speak English. But that day never came. So I created a routine and followed it even when I didn't feel like it. And that's when everything changed. When I didn't know what to do, the routine told me. When I felt lazy, the habit pushed me. When I doubted myself, the structure kept me going. That's the power of a good routine. My morning practice. I started my day with English even before breakfast. Why? Because what you do in the first hour of your day programs your brain. And I wanted to wire my brain to think in English. Here's what I did. 1. English affirmations. 3 minutes. I stood in front of the mirror and spoke sentences like, I am becoming fluent in English. I speak English with confidence. English is part of my life now. Yes, it felt strange at first. But I kept doing it, and over time my mind believed it. It wasn't magic. It was psychology. 2. Read one page of a graded reader, 5 to 10 minutes. I picked up my graded reader book and read just one page aloud. That's it. Even if I was busy, I made time for one page. I shadowed the audio if it was available. I paid attention to new words. This became my warm-up, like stretching before exercise. 3. Speak freely for 5 minutes. Free talk. I looked out the window or stared at my notebook and spoke aloud. Anything. What I planned to do that day. A dream I had last night. Something I was grateful for. No script. No pressure. Just me and my voice. It was awkward at first, but it became one of my favorite practices. Because free speaking is where growth happens. Afternoon routine, 15 to 30 minutes. Afternoons were flexible for me. Sometimes I had work. Sometimes I was free. But I always found time to touch English again. 1. Shadow a YouTube video, 10 minutes. I'd choose a video I enjoyed, motivational speech, podcast, vlog. Then I followed the shadowing method. Play sentence. Pause. Repeat aloud with same tone and energy. Shadow continuously for 2 to 3 minutes. This boosted my speaking rhythm, pronunciation, listening focus, and most of all, it gave me momentum. 2. Learn 5 new words, 5 to 10 minutes. From my graded reader or the video, I picked 5 useful words. I didn't just memorize them. I used them in my own sentences. Word, overwhelmed. My sentence, I felt overwhelmed when I had too many tasks today. I also said them out loud multiple times with emotion. Because when you say it, you own it. Evening routine, 20 to 40 minutes. Evenings were for deep practice. No distractions. Just me and English. White heavy checkmark 1. Read aloud a full chapter, 10 to 15 minutes. I picked a chapter from my graded reader or any English article. Then read it out loud slowly. I focused on clarity, pauses, emotion. This helped train my mouth, breath, and brain to speak smoothly. 2. Watch a scene from a movie/TV show, 10 minutes. I chose a scene I loved. Then, watch with subtitles. Replayed it 2 to 3 times. Shadowed the lines. Practiced one emotional scene in full. Sometimes I acted out the scene alone with full emotion. It felt like I was becoming an actor, and that gave me power. 3. Record and reflect, 5 to 10 minutes. At the end of the day, I recorded myself speaking. What I learned today. What words I practiced. How I felt in English. Then I played the audio back and listened like a coach. What sounded good? What needed improvement? Did I hesitate? This was my favorite habit. Because I watched myself transform week after week. My weekly English practice plan. Monday, vocabulary plus shadowing. Practice new words and repeat powerful lines from a motivational video. Tuesday, reading and speaking practice. Read one chapter from a graded reader aloud and talk about it. Wednesday, listening focus. Shadow a podcast episode using transcript and audio. Thursday, free speaking day. Speak freely for 10 minutes on any topic and record yourself. Friday, dialogue and emotion practice. Act out a movie scene or interview, copy the tone, attitude, and delivery. Saturday review day. Revisit your audio logs, notes, and vocabulary from the week. Sunday story retelling. Retell a chapter, story, or movie scene in your own English words. This structure gave me direction, but I didn't follow it perfectly. Some days were better than others. But I never stopped completely. Because momentum is more important than perfection. How I trained my brain to think in English. One of my biggest goals was to stop translating in my head. Here's what helped. Thinking aloud in English while walking or cleaning. Writing short journal entries in English. Asking myself questions and answering them aloud. Labeling things around me. This is a chair. That's a fan. I'm opening the door. It felt silly, but it worked. I was teaching my brain to treat English as a natural language, not a subject. The power of repetition. I used to think repetition was boring, but then I realized. Repetition is how your mouth memorizes movement. Think about athletes, musicians, actors. They repeat drills, lines, techniques over and over until it becomes automatic. That's what I did with English. I didn't read 100 books. I read the same book 10 times, aloud, with audio, with reflection. I didn't watch every movie. I mastered 5 to 6 scenes until I could say every line with confidence. That's how fluency is built. Talk to yourself without shame. I used to feel embarrassed talking to myself. Then I realized, I'm not talking to myself. I'm practicing with the most reliable partner I'll ever have me. So I talk while washing dishes. I'd speak while folding clothes. I'd even have fake interviews with myself. So Hamzy, how did you learn English? Well, I practiced every day even when no one was watching. It was funny. It was freeing. It was powerful. Because every time I spoke, I got better. What to do when you feel stuck? Not every day was perfect. Some days I stuttered more. Some days I forgot words I used yesterday. Some days I felt like I wasn't improving. But I reminded myself. Every minute spent speaking is a deposit into fluency. Every mistake is proof that I'm pushing myself. Growth isn't always visible, but it's happening. And that kept me going. Even 10 minutes of practice is better than 0. Your routine is your superpower. Let me say this clearly. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Every single day. You don't need to speak for hours. Just create a system that works for you. Morning, warm up your voice. Afternoon, shadow and learn new words. Evening, read aloud, act, reflect. Stick to it. Even if no one claps. Even if no one sees it. Even if progress feels slow. Because one day, someone will hear you speak and say, wow, you sound fluent. Did you live abroad? And you'll smile. Because they don't know the truth. You trained yourself. In your room. On your own. With discipline and love. That's what makes you unstoppable. Now, I'll show you how I imitated native speakers, not just their words, but their style, tone, attitude, and emotion to take my English from robotic to real and expressive. This part changed the personality of my English. You're going to love it. Let's go. Great. Now continuing with how to imitate native speakers, make your English sound alive. Have you ever listened to a native English speaker and thought, wow, how do they sound so natural? Their words flow like music. I understand the vocabulary, but why doesn't my English sound like that? I used to feel that way all the time. Until one day, I realized something important. Fluency is not just about words. It's about rhythm, tone, emotion, and confidence. I didn't want to just speak English, I wanted to sound alive. I already knew vocabulary. I could form good sentences. I even practiced every day. But when I listened to myself, my voice sounded flat, robotic, and awkward. I was speaking the right words. But I was missing something big. That something was intonation, the music of English. I became an actor in my room. This is going to sound funny. But when I discovered this truth, I started treating English like a performance. Not a test. Not a boring classroom exercise. A real, emotional performance. I started imitating the way native speakers sounded, not just what they said. And that's when my English came alive. Imitation trains your brain on autopilot. When you imitate native speakers, you're doing more than copying them. You're training your brain to hear the correct stress and pause. Match the natural speed and energy. Feel the emotion behind the words. Build muscle memory for natural speech. You don't need to understand every grammar rule. You just need to sound the way English is meant to sound. Imitating speakers gives you that sound again and again until it becomes part of your own voice. My favorite imitation practice techniques. I'll now share with you exactly how I practiced imitation to sound more like native speakers and how you can do it too, starting today. 1. Choose a voice that inspires you. Find someone whose English voice you love. For example, Emma Watson, clear and elegant. Tom Hiddleston, deep and expressive. Oprah Winfrey, warm and powerful. Barack Obama, calm and rhythmic. Will Smith, confident and casual. TED Talk speakers, motivational and clear. Pick just one voice to start with. Watch videos. Listen to podcasts. Pay attention. Don't just hear the words. Feel the rhythm. White heavy checkmark 2. Copy line by line like a voice actor. Open a short video clip, 1 to 2 minutes. Then, play one sentence. Pause. Imitate it exactly, volume, speed, pitch, emotion. Play again. Imitate again. Don't worry about being perfect. Just aim to get closer each time. Repeat until it feels natural in your mouth. 3. Match the emotion, not just the words. This is where the magic happens. Let's say the speaker says, "I can't believe this is happening." You can say that line like, flat, "I can't believe this is happening." No feeling. Shocked, "I can't believe this is happening." Sad, "I can't believe this is happening." Same words, different meaning. So ask yourself, what's the speaker feeling? Then imitate that feeling in your voice. This helps you sound real, not robotic. 4. Imitate interviews and dialogue. I loved imitating celebrity interviews and movie conversations. Here's why. You learn how real people talk. You absorb conversational expressions. You improve your timing, energy, and flow. I'd choose scenes from talk shows, Jimmy Fallon, Graham Norton. Netflix series like Stranger Things or Suits. Movies I enjoyed, especially dramatic scenes. Then I'd record myself imitating both sides of the conversation as if I were acting. This gave my English personality. 5. Practice shadow acting. This is my term for combining shadowing with emotional delivery. Here's how it works. 1. Pick a dramatic video clip with subtitles. 2. Watch and listen. 3. Shadow each line immediately after hearing it. 4. Add full emotional expression, hand gestures, facial expressions, tone. You're not just repeating. You're becoming the speaker. It's fun. It's powerful. It rewires your fluency fast. 6. Record a side-by-side comparison. This is one of the best ways to track your progress. Step 1. Download a short audio clip, 10 to 20 seconds, of your favorite speaker. Step 2. Record yourself imitating that same clip. Step 3. Play both side by side. Ask yourself, am I matching the tone and energy? Where do I sound different? What can I adjust? This technique helped me develop a clear, neutral accent over time. It also gave me confidence, because I could hear how much I was improving week by week. Accent isn't the goal, clarity is. Let me make one thing very clear. You don't need to sound British. You don't need to sound American. You don't need to lose your native accent. What matters is, do you speak clearly? Do people understand you? Do you express yourself naturally? That's the goal. Imitation helps you sound clearer, smoother, and more confident in your own voice. That's true fluency. English has music, learn to play it. Every language has music. English is full of rise and fall, intonation, emphasis, stress, pauses and silence, rhythm. Listen to a native speaker. You'll hear it. They don't say, "I want to go to the store." They say, "I want to go to the store." Smooth, flowing, musical. When you imitate their sound, your brain starts learning that music. And once you master it, you no longer just speak English. You perform it. Repetition is your coach. The more you imitate, the better you get. Don't expect to sound perfect in 1 week. It takes time. It takes repeating the same sentence 10 to 20 times. Imitating the same voice daily for a month. Practicing with love, not pressure. But every repetition adds up. Every time you imitate, you're building pronunciation muscles, fluency instinct, confidence under pressure. Keep going, because one day you'll say a sentence, and you'll shock yourself with how natural it sounds. Make imitation a daily habit. You don't need to spend hours. Just 10 minutes a day can transform your speech. Here's a sample daily imitation plan. Listen to one short video clip, 1 to 2 minutes. Repeat each line with emotion, 5 to 10 times. Record yourself imitating the full clip. Watch your facial expressions in a mirror. Play it back and adjust for clarity. Make it fun. Make it emotional. Make it part of your life. What people told me after I imitated for 3 months. I didn't tell anyone I was practicing imitation. I just kept doing it in secret. And one day, a friend who hadn't seen me in a while said, "Your English sounds so different now, like you've really grown." I smiled, because I hadn't moved to a new country. I hadn't joined any English group. I had just copied the voices I admired. I had trained my ears, my tongue, and my energy one sentence at a time. And that's what made me sound alive. Here are my favorite imitation sources that you can start with today. Want to start imitating immediately? Try these. Emma Watson, UN speech. Powerful, clear, emotional. Barack Obama, Stanford speech. Great for rhythm and leadership tone. Steve Jobs, Stanford commencement. Perfect for emotional storytelling and pacing. Motiversity YouTube channel. Amazing voiceover speeches with clarity. TED Talks by Simon Sinek, Brené Brown, Julian Treasure. Real-life English with emotion and logic. Pick one. Imitate it every day for a week. Then pick another. Over time, you'll sound like a combination of all your heroes. And that's the voice the world needs to hear. Final thought, you're not copying, you're becoming. At first, it might feel like you're just copying others. But after a while, you'll notice something powerful. You're not copying anymore. You're absorbing. You're transforming. You're becoming fluent in your own unique way. And one day, someone else will hear your English and say, "I wish I could speak like you." That's when you'll realize. All those nights you spent imitating. All those voices you practiced alone. Were never wasted. They were preparing you to inspire others with your own voice. Now, we'll talk about something that stops millions of learners. Shyness. Fear. Judgment. I'll show you how I overcame the fear of speaking English in front of people and how you can too. Because your voice deserves to be heard without shame. Let's talk about confidence next. Perfect, let's now move into overcoming shyness and judgment, how to speak English without fear. Let's get honest for a moment. If you're watching this, you probably already know how to learn. You've heard about graded readers. You've practiced shadowing. You've tried speaking alone. But the biggest enemy isn't grammar. It's not vocabulary. It's not pronunciation. It's fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of being laughed at. I know that fear because it lived inside me for years. I was terrified to speak in front of people. I still remember standing in class. The teacher asked, "Can someone read this paragraph out loud?" I could read it. I knew the words. But my heart said, "Don't do it. What if you mess up? What if they laugh?" So I stayed silent. And every time I did that, my fear grew stronger. That's the thing about fear, when you obey it, it grows. The first time I spoke and got laughed at. One day, I finally pushed myself. I was with a group of people practicing English. I tried to say something like, "Yesterday, I went to the supermarket." But I mispronounced supermarket and said something silly by accident. They laughed. Not cruelly. Just lightly. But it hit me hard. My chest burned. My face turned red. I didn't speak again for the rest of the session. That night, I told myself, maybe I'll never be confident in English. But one comment changed everything. The next week, someone from that same group pulled me aside. She said, "I really admire that you spoke up. I wish I had your courage." I was shocked. She thought I was brave? That's when I realized. Most people aren't judging you. They're secretly wishing they had your courage. That changed how I saw the world. Your brain's biggest lie, they're all watching you. Fear comes from a part of your brain that says, everyone is watching me. Everyone will notice my mistake. But here's the truth. Most people are thinking about themselves, not you. Most native speakers respect learners who try. Most mistakes are forgotten in seconds. In fact, the more mistakes you make, the faster you learn. You can't become fluent without falling a few times. Here's how I rewired my fear into confidence. Let me show you exactly what I did to overcome the fear of speaking English, especially around others. 1. I practiced in safe spaces. Before I spoke in public, I practiced. In my room. In the bathroom. On walks. Late at night when no one could hear me. I created an environment. Well, I'll never forget that again. Changing how you talk to yourself changes how you perform. Be your own best coach, not your worst enemy. 4. I spoke with emotion, not perfection. One day I saw a little boy try to speak English. He said, I go to market. He smiled. He was excited. He used his hands and eyes. And guess what? Everyone understood him. He wasn't perfect. But he was expressive. And that's what matters. English is not about saying everything perfectly. It's about saying it with feeling. I celebrated small victories. Most learners wait for big wins. I'll feel confident when I speak for 30 minutes without stopping. I'll celebrate when I finally sound fluent. But that takes months or years. Instead, I celebrated small wins. I recorded myself today even if it was awkward. I asked a stranger for directions in English. I joined a live class and typed one sentence. These moments matter. Celebrate them. Because they build the confidence muscle. What to do when people judge you? Let's be honest. Sometimes people will laugh. Sometimes people will mock your accent. But here's the secret. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing at their own fear of growth. People who laugh at your progress are usually afraid to try themselves. Ignore them. Because every great English speaker you admire today, they all sounded awkward once too. But they kept going. So will you. Let your why be bigger than your fear. Fear is real. But so is your purpose. Ask yourself, why do I want to speak English? Who am I doing this for? How will fluency change my life? Let your why be louder than your what-ifs. Whenever I got scared, I remembered. I want to speak English so I can tell my story, so I can connect, so I can grow. That gave me the strength to try even when I felt weak. Turn your shyness into a superpower. Here's something you may not realize. Shy people often become the best communicators. Why? Because they observe deeply, listen carefully, choose words with care, express themselves with sincerity. If you're shy, don't try to be loud. Be clear, gentle, and real. Your voice doesn't need to be the loudest, just honest. And that honesty will touch people. My simple confidence plan, you can try this too. Here's a 7-day speaking confidence challenge you can try. Day 1, speak one English sentence out loud, alone. Day 2, record a 30-second audio of yourself talking. Day 3, read one paragraph from a book with emotion. Day 4, shadow one short video clip. Day 5, ask one question in an English WhatsApp group. Day 6, join a voice chat or live stream, just listen if needed. Day 7, speak for 1 minute about your favorite topic. One small step a day. No pressure. No judgment. Just practice. By day 7, you'll be braver than you were on day 1. Your voice deserves to be heard. Don't let fear win. Don't let judgment silence your growth. You've come this far and that means you're stronger than you know. So speak even if your voice shakes. Say the wrong word and laugh. Make mistakes and learn. Because that's how confidence is born. Not in silence, but in the sound of your own beautiful, imperfect, unstoppable voice. Great. Now continuing with common mistakes solo English learners make and how to avoid them. By now you've learned the techniques. You've heard the stories. You're building the courage to speak alone. But there's something else you need to know. Even the most dedicated learners, the ones who practice every day, make avoidable mistakes that slow them down or worse, make them give up completely. I know because I made almost all of them myself. Some of them cost me weeks of progress. Others made me feel stuck, frustrated, and lost. But the good news? Once you're aware of these mistakes, you can fix them fast. Let's go through them one by one, so you can stay on track and become fluent faster without wasting time. Mistake 1, practicing without speaking aloud. This is the mistake solo learners make. They do everything. Read books, watch videos, study grammar, listen to podcasts. But they don't speak. They think, when I learn enough, I'll start speaking. But it doesn't work that way. You don't speak after you become fluent. You become fluent because you start speaking. Even if you're alone, speak aloud. Shadow, imitate, talk to yourself. Make your voice part of the learning process every single day. Mistake 2, waiting for the perfect moment. Many learners say, I'll start practicing when I'm less busy. I'll speak English when I feel confident. I'll record myself once my accent improves. But guess what? That perfect moment never comes. The more you wait, the harder it gets to start. Instead, adopt this mindset. I'll start with what I have. I'll grow as I go. Don't wait to feel ready. Start and let the practice build your readiness. Mistake 3, focusing too much on grammar before speaking. Grammar is important, no doubt. But when grammar becomes your only focus, it becomes a prison. You start thinking, is this the right tense? Should I use has or have here? Is this a passive sentence? And while you think, you stop speaking. Speaking fluently means flow first, accuracy second. It's okay to make grammar mistakes while speaking. They can be corrected later. The goal of speaking is communication, not examination. Mistake 4. Consuming without practicing. I used to watch 3 to 4 English videos every day. I'd finish a TED Talk and feel proud. I'd listen to 2 hours of English podcasts and say, that's enough practice for today. But I wasn't growing. Why? Because I wasn't using what I learned. Watching is not speaking. Listening is not expressing. Every video, book, or podcast should lead to output. Speak about what you just learned. Use new words in your own sentences. Explain the idea in your voice. Practice using, not just watching. Mistake 5. Comparing yourself to others. This one nearly destroyed my motivation. I'd watch fluent speakers and think, I'll never speak like that. Their accent is perfect. They're younger, smarter, luckier. Comparison kills confidence. Here's the truth. You don't see their struggle. You don't hear their first mistakes. You're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. Instead of comparing, get inspired. Say to yourself, if they can do it, I can too. And remember, the only person you need to be better than is the one you were yesterday. Mistake 6. Using only textbooks or apps. I've used them too. Grammar books, vocabulary apps, flashcards. They're helpful, but only to a point. Here's the trap. You feel like you're learning. But when you try to speak, your mind goes blank. Because real fluency doesn't live in apps. It lives in your voice. Textbooks are for structure, but your mouth needs real practice. Use stories, conversations, shadowing, and real-life expressions. That's where true growth happens. Mistake 7. Avoiding mistakes at all costs. This is a mindset problem. We're trained to believe mistakes are bad. In school, mistakes mean failure. In society, mistakes mean embarrassment. But in language learning, mistakes are the bridge to success. Every time you make a mistake and learn from it, you grow. So don't say, I made a mistake. Say, now I'll never forget it. Mistakes are not your enemy. Fear of making them is. Mistake 8. Practicing only in your head. You watch an English video and repeat the sentence in your mind. You read a dialogue and say it silently. But here's the thing. What sounds clear in your brain often comes out messy from your mouth. Thinking is not enough. You need to say it. Speak out loud no matter where you are. Because fluency is not silent. It's spoken. Mistake 9. Not reflecting on progress. I used to think I wasn't improving. But when I listened to my old recordings, I was shocked. I spoke faster, clearer, more confidently. That's why reflection is so important. Record yourself often. Save voice notes. Compare how you speak today versus last month. You'll realize, I am getting better even if it feels slow. Progress isn't always visible daily, but it's always happening when you stay consistent. Mistake 10. Trying to sound perfect instead of being understood. Many learners obsess over accent, tone, grammar, but forget the most important question. Can people understand me? That's the true test of speaking. You don't need a British accent. You don't need to sound like a native. You need to be clear, confident, and connected. Don't chase perfection. Chase clarity. People will respect your effort. Now let's flip the mistakes into positive habits. Here's how to avoid the 10 mistakes and build a powerful routine instead. Speak aloud every single day, even one sentence. Don't wait. Start now with whatever you have. Practice grammar, but don't let it silence your voice. Turn every lesson into output. Speak what you learn. Compare only with your past self. Use real-world English, not just exercises. Welcome mistakes, they teach you more than success. Talk out loud, not just in your mind. Reflect and record your progress monthly. Focus on being understood, not perfect. If you apply these shifts, your English will transform. Not just how you speak, but how you feel when you speak. What I wish I knew earlier. If I could go back and tell my old self one thing, it would be this. You're not failing. You're learning. Don't rush. Don't compare. Just keep going. It's okay to sound awkward now. You won't always. Fluency is built in the silence, the effort, the repetition. Keep your head up, because your voice matters. And if you're watching this now, then you already have what it takes. You're not making mistakes because you're bad at English. You're making them because you're growing. And soon, your voice will be stronger, smoother, and more powerful than ever. Just don't give up. Now, I'll share my personal words to you. A letter from me to every English learner who's ever felt alone, embarrassed, or hopeless. Because your journey is personal and your victory is near. Let's close it with heart. Perfect, let's now complete the journey with final advice and my personal words to you, the letter I wish someone had written me. Dear English learner. Yes, you. The one watching this video alone. The one who replays English videos and whispers lines at midnight. The one who dreams of speaking fluently but feels stuck. This is not just advice. This is a letter from me to you. Because I know how it feels. And you're not alone. You are brave even if no one sees it. You're brave for showing up. You're brave for trying. You're brave for pressing play on a video about learning English alone, even when the world makes it feel impossible. Most people talk about fluency, but few talk about the loneliness of the journey, the silent struggle, the nights you speak to yourself and doubt your progress, the fear of sounding wrong and being laughed at, but still you show up, you write, you listen, you speak even if only to the mirror. That is courage. That is strength. That is you. Fluency is not a destination. It's a lifestyle. When I first started, I thought fluency was a place, a finish line, a perfect moment when I would speak English without fear, without error, without hesitation. But that moment never arrived. And then I realized something powerful. Fluency isn't a final goal. It's a way of living. It's the books you read aloud, the voice notes you record and delete, the words you whisper in the bathroom mirror, the subtitles you follow on your favorite series, the messages you type. Slowly, carefully, but with heart. Fluency is not something you find one day. It's something you become little by little every single day. If you feel like giving up, remember this. You're going to have days when you feel like a failure. Days when your mind goes blank. Days when people don't understand you. Days when you listen to yourself and cringe. I've had those days too. But what I learned is this. You don't need to feel fluent to keep going. You just need to keep going and fluency will follow. If today feels hard, it's okay. Speak anyway. If your voice shakes, speak anyway. If you forget the word, speak anyway. Your power lies in the speaking itself, not in its perfection. There will be a moment you'll never forget. One day, it will happen. You'll be in a conversation, maybe online, maybe in person. And you'll say something in English without thinking. The words will flow. The tone will sound right. And the person will smile and understand you perfectly. In that moment, you'll freeze inside. Wait, did I just say that fluently? Yes, you did. And no one else will know how much that moment means, but you will. Because you'll remember every night you practiced alone. Every word you repeated 10 times. Every time you spoke through fear. That moment is coming. It's not a dream. It's your future. Speak with your heart, not just your mouth. Here's something no one tells you. People don't connect to perfect grammar. They connect to emotion. If you speak with kindness, people will listen. If you speak with energy, people will smile. If you speak with truth, people will feel it even if you make mistakes. So don't aim to sound like a textbook. Speak like a human. Let your story come through your voice. Keep this in mind when you doubt yourself. You may feel like you're behind. Like others are moving faster. Like you'll never get there. But let me tell you something. Every step you take puts you ahead of the version of you who never tried. Every time you practice, you are moving forward even if it doesn't feel like it. Don't let comparison slow you down. Don't let fear stop you. You're not late. You're right on time. This journey belongs to you and no one else. The world needs your voice. There are people in the world who need to hear your story in English. Maybe it's the friend you haven't met yet. Maybe it's a student, a client, a stranger who will one day say, "You changed my life with your words." But for that to happen, you must believe, my voice matters. My English is worthy. My growth is real. And I promise you, it is. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be honest. And keep going. Let me leave you with these final words. Speak, even when your voice shakes. Practice, even when no one is watching. Believe, even when progress feels invisible. Celebrate even the smallest wins. Forgive every mistake you make. Trust that fluency is already growing inside you. You are not just learning English. You are learning resilience, patience, discipline, expression, and that will serve you far beyond this language. This is not the end. It's the beginning. You've reached the end of this video, but this is not where the journey ends. This is where it starts for real. Now it's your turn to Shadow a new video. Read a story aloud. Speak your thoughts freely. Join a new challenge. Believe in your voice again. You can watch this again whenever you feel low, because these words were written for you. From someone who was once too shy to say a single English sentence, to someone now telling his story in a language he once feared. If I can do it, alone with nothing but a voice and a will, so can you, and you will. Subscribe to Learn English with Hamzy. If you felt seen, if you felt heard, if this gave you hope, then join the journey. Subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below. I will speak English with confidence. Let's grow together, word by word, voice by voice, heart to heart. I'm rooting for you. Always, Hamzy.